Today we will resume our study of Savitri and take up the fifth canto of the second book, The Kingdoms and the Godheads of Larger Life. We have just completed reading the Godheads of the little life, and now we come to the vital world proper. Ashwapati has moved into the larger vital world, and the poet describes as one who between dim receding walls towards the far gleam of a tunnel's mouth, hoping for light, walks now with freer pace and feels approach a breath of wider air. So he escaped from that grey anarchy. Ashwapati had just escaped from that dull, confused kingdom of little life. And as he is advancing, the walls that bound him are receding, going backwards. And like one who feels the far gleam, the shining of the mouth of a tunnel in which he is walking, hoping for light, he starts walking with a less bounded gait, a freer pace, speed, and as he advances, he feels the breath of a wider air. It is no longer constricted, no longer oppressive, but free. Into an ineffectual world he came. After passing through that, he comes into a world which, however, is not very effective. It is a world, no doubt, but it doesn't produce results. And describing that ineffectual world, a purposeless region of arrested birth. Here, things are trying to be born, but something hampers the process of birth, and the whole region appears to be purposeless, since things can't take birth there, where being from non-being fled and dared to live. There is a general sense of non-being, and being flies away from that and dares to live in a realm, in a region where non-existence, non-being is the rule. Something tries to live, manages to live, but had no strength long to abide. It lacks the strength to last for a while. It gets born and soon disappears. Above there gleamed a pondering brow of sky. There is a sky. It looks very contemplative. And he sees the outline of a sky which is not very bright, not very cheerful, but pondering, thoughtful. That means very solemn. And in that sky, as if it is some birds are flying. Wings signifies some things that fly, of doubtful haze. Their color, their appearance is not very definite. Whether it is this or that is very doubtful. And that expanse of sky is crisscrossed by wings of doubtful haze, tormented, because every now and then there is this procession of flying birds. And where are they going? Adventuring with a voice of roaming winds. In the sky you hear the winds that are roaming. So this flight of birds carries the sound or the voice of roaming winds. They have no direction. They are just roaming and crying for direction in the void. Everything is void. And these birds, they look for some direction, like blind souls looking for selves they lost. Here is a simile, like souls that are blind, that can't see, looking for selves they lost. That is, they are living so much on the surface that they have lost their identity. And they are looking for their own selves and wandering through unfamiliar worlds. All these birds, that is wings, crossing the sky, are wandering aimlessly, looking for light, looking for direction in unfamiliar worlds. Wings of vague questioning met the query of space. There is the void, there is the extension of the space. Now it looks as if the space is asking a question. Query of space, what for? Why do I exist? What's the purpose? And the birds that are crossing, they are also vaguely questioning, where do we go and why? So that question from the birds meets the question of space. Everywhere there is questioning. No certainty, nothing positive, but everywhere a doubtful question. After this stage of denial of life, after denial dawned a dubious hope. There is the birth of a hope. But that hope turns out to be very dubious. It doesn't last. It is a doubtful hope. A hope of self and form and leave to live. What's that hope? A hope of the self to last. A hope of the form to continue. Wanting to live, not to die, not to disappear, but at least for a while to live. A hope of self and form and leave to live, and the birth of that which never yet could be. The hope for a birth of something which till now could not take birth. And joy of the mind's hazard. The mind imagines things, adventures. There is a joy in it. Now that joy is looked for here the heart's choice. Heart wants to have the freedom to choose, not to be compelled to accept or follow what is determined for it. Grace of the unknown and hands of sudden surprise. Grace of the unknown, the divine, and hands of sudden surprise, not everything determined and fixed, but a hand of surprise. That adds zest to life, that adds hope, and a touch of sure delight in unsure things. All things, as we said, are unsure in this realm. But there is a hope that even in these unsure things, there is a sure delight of existence. Now all these, there is a hope, a bubbling hope, wanting all these to exist. To a strange, certain tract his journey came. Through all these tracts, Ashwapati's journey arrives at a point where consciousness played with unconscious self. That is, there is this birth of consciousness. And birth was an attempt or episode. And there came the phenomenon of birth. Maybe the birth was only an attempt to be born, or it was just an episode that was forgotten soon after. But still, there was a birth, the phenomenon of birth. A charm drew near that could not keep its spell. There was suddenly a charm, but that charm did not last long enough to keep things under its spell. It dissipated itself, it spent itself. An eager power that could not find its way. There was this sense of a great power, eager to achieve, eager to do, but it could not see its way. A chance, there was a play of chance that chose a strange arithmetic. Its mathematics was very strange, calculations, but could not bind with it the forms it made. Chance, indeed, but the forms that erupted out of this chance could not be bound by that chance. It had a strange way of calculation, systematizing, but the forms it made escaped from the formula of chance. A multitude that could not guard its sum. There was a multitude, a multiplicity, which, however, could not guard, means total up to a particular sum. That means the multiplicity went on changing. There was not one fixed figure to which we could say all these multiples to be totaled up and we arrive at this. It was a strange experience because all this multitude less than zero grew. Ultimately, when you totaled up, it would appear to be less than a zero, but at the same time more than one. All together exceeded one because they were multiple. But in another sense, they were less than zero. Zero means you cancel, but they refused to be cancelled. It was a strange multitude which defied the logic of arithmetic, arriving at a large and shadowy sense. The sense of being was large but shadowy. It was not concrete. That sense cared not to define its fleeting drift. It was fleeting, always flowing ahead, refused to be defined, because it is a vague world yet. You can't determine its outlines. Life labored in a strange and mythic air. Life force was laboring here in a strange and mythic, almost non-existent air, denuded of her sweet, magnificent suns. Suns, Surya. There were none of those magnificent suns which characterize the empire of life everywhere. In this realm, there was no sun. In worlds imagined, never yet made true, these worlds are not substantial worlds. They look imaginary, not yet true to experience, concrete. A lingering glimmer on creation's verge. Creation is not yet from that height. The creation is not yet, but on the border, on the verge. This vital world is a glimmer. Once strayed and dreamed and never stopped to achieve. In these worlds, whoever comes, wanders, strays, dreams, but never achieves. You don't achieve anything here. You can luxuriate in your dreams. You can move without aim. And why can't you achieve? Because he says, to achieve would have destroyed that magic space, that enchantment of that kingdom would have been punctured, destroyed, if anybody stopped to work and achieve, that is to produce results. The very beauty of this place is that you don't achieve anything, but always have the sense of beauty, the sense of birth, the sense of seeing things which are not substantial. The marvels of a twilight wonderland, there is neither light nor darkness, neither day nor night, full of beauty, strangely, vainly made. This beauty has been made in a very strange way. But when you come to evaluate it, it is vain. It has no purpose. A surge of fanciful realities. That beauty consists of a surge of fanciful realities. They look real, but when you go to touch them, they turn out to be fanciful. Still, they have a meaning. Dim tokens of a splendor sealed above. Above the vital world, there is a great splendor, and these various beauties of this vital region are dim tokens, symbols. All these awoke the passion of the eye's desire that there is a splendor above. This is not everything. So, the desire, the passion of the seeing eye, that is awakened. Compelled belief on the enamored thought. Thought that is witnessing all this, thinking about what is going on, and coming under that spell. Now it is compelled to believe, to have faith that there is something. This is not all insubstantial, but there is something, that splendor above, of which all these are tokens, and drew the heart. Not only the thought was impressed, but even the heart was drawn, but led it to no goal. When you experience it, it is real. The thought is compelled to believe, the heart is drawn, but ultimately you find it leads nowhere. He is describing the spell of the vital world at a certain level. Things are just beginning to be born, take shape, and yet they turn out to be unsubstantial. But on that account, they are not all fanciful and false, because they are tokens of a splendor which for the moment is completely sealed to the vision from below. As one who between dim receding walls towards the far gleam of a tunnel's mouth, hoping for light, walks now with freer pace and feels approach a breath of wider air, so he escaped from that grey anarchy. Into an ineffectual world he came, a purposeless region of arrested birth, where being from non-being fled and dared to live, but had no strength long to abide. Above there gleamed a pondering brow of sky, tormented, crossed by wings of doubtful haze, adventuring with a voice of roaming winds, and crying for direction in the void, like blind souls looking for the selves they lost, and wandering through unfamiliar worlds. Wings of vague questioning met the query of space. After denial dawned a dubious hope, a hope of self and form and leave to live, and birth of that which never yet could be, and joy of the mind's hazard, the heart's choice, grace of the unknown, and hands of sudden surprise, and a touch of sure delight in unsure things. To a strange, certain tract his journey came, where consciousness played with unconscious self, and birth was an attempt or episode. A charm drew near that could not keep its spell, an eager power that could not find its way, a chance that chose a strange arithmetic, but could not bind with it the forms it made, a multitude that could not guard its sum, which less than zero grew and more than one, arriving at a large shadowy sense that cared not to define its fleeting drift. Life labored in a strange and mythic air, denuded of her sweet, magnificent suns. In worlds imagined, never yet made true, a lingering glimmer on creation's verge, once strayed and dreamed, and never stopped to achieve. To achieve would have destroyed that magic space. The marvels of a twilight wonderland, full of beauty, strangely, vainly made, a surge of fanciful realities, dim tokens of a splendor sealed above, awoke the passion of the eye's desire, compelled belief on the enamored thought, and drew the heart, but led it to no goal.